The stars looked the same as always. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her chair on the bridge of the Midnight Crow, watching the empty space ahead. Her ship was small, just a cargo hauler that carried supplies from one human colony to another. Today they had medical equipment, medicine for sick children, and basic supplies for doctors. Nothing exciting, nothing dangerous. Sarah had been flying this route for 3 years now. She knew every asteroid, every planet, every safe place to stop. The shipping lane was supposed to be neutral territory. All the alien species agreed that cargo ships could pass through without problems. It was one of the few things everyone in the galaxy agreed on. Her crew was small, just 6 people including herself. There was Tom on the engines, Maria in medical, young Tommy Rodriguez handling communications, and 3 others managing cargo and navigation. They were good people, hard workers. They trusted her to keep them safe. "Captain, I'm seeing something strange on the scanners," Tommy said. His voice was calm, but Sarah heard the worry underneath. She looked at her screen. Nothing. Then, like ghosts appearing from nowhere, 6 large ships materialized around them. They had been hiding, using cloaking technology. The ships were Velcrin vessels. Everyone in human space knew about the Velcrin. They were warriors, conquerors. They had been pushing into this sector for months, attacking smaller species and taking their territory. "Battle stations," Sarah said quietly. Her heart was pounding, but her voice stayed steady. "Tommy, send out a distress call. Use Channel 7. Tommy's fingers flew over his controls. Channel 7 was old Earth military code. Most civilians didn't even know it existed. If any human military ships were nearby, they would know what it meant. It meant crew in danger. It meant possible death. The communication system crackled to life. A harsh, clicking voice spoke in translated galactic common. "Human vessel, you will shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and you will be destroyed." Sarah recognized the voice pattern. Velcrin commander, probably high-ranking. She took a deep breath and opened the channel. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Midnight Crow. We are a civilian cargo vessel carrying medical supplies under galactic commerce protection. Attacking us violates council law." Laughter came through the speakers. Not human laughter, but the Velcrin equivalent. It sounded like stones grinding together. "The council is far away, human. Your people are weak. You are traitors, not warriors. You will surrender your cargo." Before Sarah could respond, her ship shuddered. The lights flickered and went out, then came back on in emergency red. The engines went silent. They had been hit with an electromagnetic pulse. Her ship was dead in space, unable to run or fight. "Engine power at 0, Tom reported from his station. "They hit us hard, Captain. It'll take hours to restart the systems." Sarah's mind raced. Hours they didn't have. She had been in the Earth Defense Force before she became a cargo hauler. She knew what happened when the Velcrin boarded civilian ships. Sometimes they just took the cargo. Sometimes they took more. Sometimes nobody survived to tell what happened. "Commander," she said, keeping her voice calm and professional, "we need 5 minutes to discuss surrender terms with my crew. Surely you can grant us that small courtesy." There was silence. Then more of that grinding laughter. "5 minutes, human. We are not cruel. Discuss your surrender. Accept the inevitable. You have no choice." The communication channel closed. Sarah's crew looked at her with fear in their eyes. All except Maria, who had also been military. Maria understood. "Tommy, did the distress call get out before they hit us?" Sarah asked. "Yes, Captain. Full transmission on Channel 7. But the nearest human military base is hours away at best." "Then we buy time," Sarah said. She stood up and faced her crew. "Listen carefully. We are not surrendering. We are going to make them regret ever touching this ship." "Captain, we're a cargo hauler," one of the crew members said. "We have no weapons." Sarah smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator. "We have a cargo bay full of industrial equipment. We have mining explosives for the colony. We have plasma cutters. We have chemical supplies. And most importantly, we know our ship better than they do." She pulled up the ship's layout on the main screen. "They'll board here at the main airlock. We seal off sections as they advance. We set traps. We make every step they take cost them. We show them that humans don't go quietly." Maria stood up. "I was a combat medic for 6 years. I know how to hurt people and I know how to help people. Today we hurt people." Young Tommy looked scared but determined. "I'm with you, Captain. All the way." Sarah looked at each crew member. One by one they nodded. They were civilians, yes, but they were humans. And humans had something the Velkrin didn't understand. Humans didn't surrender when their backs were against the wall. They fought. They always fought. "We have 5 minutes," Sarah said. "Let's make them count." "Tom, start rerouting power to life support only. Make them think we're getting ready to surrender." "Maria, get to the medical bay and prepare your surprises." "Tommy, keep monitoring all frequencies. If help comes, we need to know immediately." The crew scattered to their positions. Sarah sat back in her chair and started her timer. 5 minutes until the Velkrin came. 5 minutes to prepare. And somewhere out there maybe human warships were coming. She had sent the signal. Now she had to trust that someone had heard it. Someone who would come. Someone who would make the Velkrin pay for this mistake. The timer counted down. 4 minutes. 3 minutes, 2. Sarah checked her sidearm and smiled. Today the Velkrin would learn something new about humanity. They would learn that humans protect their own. 18 light minutes away, Admiral Marcus Webb was drinking his third coffee of the day when the alarm sounded. Not the normal alarm. The old alarm. The one that used encryption from Earth's first space navy, back when humans were just learning to travel between stars. "Sir, we have a priority distress call," Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka said from the tactical station. Her face was pale. "Channel 7. Military emergency code." Webb's coffee cup hit the floor. He didn't notice. "Source? Cargo hauler Midnight Crow. Captain Sarah Chen commanding. 6 crew members. They're 18 light minutes from our position." Yuki's voice was shaking slightly. "Sir, the message protocol indicates crew in mortal danger with hostile engagement." Webb was already moving to his command chair. "Battle stations. All hands to combat positions. Helm, maximum burn to those coordinates. I don't care if we burn out the engines." The EDFN Relentless Fury came alive. Crew members ran to their stations. Weapon systems powered up. The massive dreadnought turned and began accelerating, pushing its drives beyond safe limits. The ship groaned with the strain, but it kept accelerating. "Status on the Midnight Crow?" Webb demanded. "No further communication, sir. Whatever happened, it happened fast." Yuki pulled up more data. "Sir, I'm detecting Velkrin signatures in that sector." "Multiple ships. Cruiser class at minimum." Webb's jaw tightened. The Velkrin, they had been getting bold lately, pushing into neutral zones, harassing civilian traffic. But they had always stopped short of attacking human ships directly. Until now. "How long until we reach them?" Webb asked. 32 minutes at current speed, sir." The helmsman's voice was strained. "But sir, we're pushing the engines to 130%. We can't maintain this for long." "We maintain it until we get there," Webb said flatly. "I don't care if we have to rebuild the engines afterward. No one gets left behind. That's the rule. That's always been the rule." Every human in the fleet knew the rule. It was the first thing they learned in basic training. It was written on every ship, carved into every station. No matter what happened, no matter the cost, humans came for their own. Always. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of systems and the occasional report from stations. Everyone knew what they were heading into. The Velkrin were warriors. Their ships were strong, their weapons powerful. But right now, none of that mattered. Someone had touched a human civilian ship. Someone had threatened human crew members. "Sir, intelligence reports on the Velkrin," Yuki said. "They've been getting confident. They defeated 3 Zelian colony defense forces last month. They think they're unstoppable in this sector." Webb smiled, but it was a cold smile. "They think we're merchants, traders, weak." "Yes, sir. Most species see humans as diplomats and commerce specialists. We don't advertise our military capabilities." "Then today they get an education," Webb said. He opened a shipwide channel. "All hands, this is Admiral Webb. 30 minutes ago, a human cargo ship carrying medical supplies was attacked by Velkrin forces. That ship has 6 crew members, civilians, people with families, people under our protection. The Velkrin think we're weak. They think we won't fight for a small cargo hauler. They're about to learn differently." He paused, looking at the stars ahead. "We don't start fights. We don't want war. But when someone threatens our people, when someone attacks our civilians, we respond. And we respond with everything we have. Today, the Velkrin learn why you don't touch human ships. Today, they learn what happens when they go too far." Webb out, the bridge crew sat straighter. Their hands moved with more confidence over their controls. This was what they trained for. Not conquest, not expansion, protection, defense. Making sure that any species in the galaxy knew that humans were off limits. "Yuki, Get me everything we have on Velcrin ship capabilities, Webb ordered. I want to know their weapons, their shields, their tactics. I want to know how they think. Already pulling it up, sir. Yuki worked quickly. Velcrin favor heavy frontal armor. They attack head-on using overwhelming firepower. They're not subtle. Their crews are warriors, but they follow rigid command structures. They don't improvise well. Webb nodded. And their weaknesses? Their engines are exposed on the port and starboard sides. Their shield generators are powerful but slow to recharge. And sir, they don't have point defense systems like we do. They don't use artificial intelligence in combat. Their computer systems are basic. Because they think AI is dishonorable in war, Webb said. They want personal glory. They want to say they won battles, not their computers. Yes, sir. It's a cultural thing. Webb thought for a moment. That's their mistake. We use every advantage we have. We fight smart, not proud. Helm, as soon as we drop out of FTL, I want us positioned exactly here. He marked a spot on the tactical display. That gives us optimal firing solution on their likely positions. Sir, that's a very precise position, the helmsman said. We'd need exact data on enemy locations to pull that off. Then let's hope Captain Chen is as smart as her record says, Webb replied. As if in answer, a new alert sounded. Sir, receiving tight beam data transmission, Yuki said excitedly. Source is the Midnight Crow. It's Captain Chen. She's sending us tactical data. Webb laughed. A real laugh this time. That's my girl. She's stalling them and gathering intelligence. What do we have? 6 Velcrin ships, sir. 2 cruisers, 3 destroyers, 1 command frigate. Positions, shield frequencies, weapon status, everything. Yuki looked up with admiration. Sir, she's feeding us real-time data. Her crew must still have some systems operational. Then we don't waste the opportunity they're giving us, Webb said. Tactical, I want firing solutions for every ship. Primary targets are the cruisers and command frigate. We hit them first and hit them hard. Solutions programmed, sir. We'll be ready the moment we drop out of FTL. 20 minutes to target? Sir, the helmsman reported. Webb settled into his chair and pulled up the personnel file on Captain Sarah Chen. Former Earth Defense Force. Tactical officer. Served with distinction. Left the service to fly cargo haulers because she wanted a quiet life. Sorry, Captain, Webb said quietly to the image on his screen. Looks like the quiet life found you anyway. But don't worry. We're coming. Just hold on a little longer. The relentless fury burned through space, engines screaming, every system pushed to maximum. Behind it, other human ships were responding to the alert, but they were farther away. For now, it was just one dreadnought racing to save 6 civilians. But sometimes one ship was enough, especially when that ship carried the full weight of human determination and fury. The airlock hissed open and the Velcrin warriors entered the Midnight Crow. They were large creatures, nearly 3 meters tall, with thick, armor-like skin and 4 arms. Each carried weapons designed to kill. They expected fear. They expected surrender. They expected easy prey. The first warrior stepped into the corridor and triggered the trap. Maria had rigged a plasma cutter to the door sensor. It fired automatically, cutting through the warrior's armor at the knee joint. The creature fell, screaming. The others behind it fired blindly into the corridor, but there was nothing to shoot. The humans were already gone. Commander Zekthar watched the battle feed from his ship with growing anger. Civilians, he snarled. They are supposed to be helpless civilians. His tactical officer looked nervous. Commander, we have lost 3 warriors already. The humans have fortified their ship. They know the layout. We are fighting blind. Send more warriors. Overwhelm them with numbers. Another squad entered the Midnight Crow. They moved carefully this time, weapons ready. They reached an intersection and stopped. 3 corridors branched off in different directions. The squad leader pointed left. The warriors moved forward. Tom, the engineer, watched them from his hiding spot in the ventilation system. He waited until they were directly beneath his position, then released the container. Industrial solvent, highly corrosive, rained down on the warriors. Their armor began to smoke and bubble. They ran back toward the airlock, screaming. In the medical bay, Maria prepared her next surprise. She had sedatives strong enough to drop a full-grown human in seconds. She had adrenaline that could cause heart attacks in normal doses. She had chemicals that humans used for disinfection, but that would burn Velcrin skin on contact. She carefully loaded syringes with combinations that would be extremely painful, but not immediately lethal. She wanted them to feel it. She wanted them to suffer. Young Tommy Rodriguez was at his station in communications, still sending updates to Admiral Webb. His hand shook as he typed, but he kept working. "Captain, the Velcrin command ship is moving position. They're preparing for something big." Sarah looked at the tactical display. The Velcrin were getting frustrated. Good. Frustrated enemies made mistakes. "How long until the relentless fury arrives?" 15 minutes, maybe less. They're pushing their engines hard. Then we hold for 15 more minutes. Sarah checked her weapon. She had killed before, back in her military days. She had hoped she would never have to again. But today, she would do whatever was necessary. "Tom, how's the next surprise coming?" "Ready on your signal, Captain." Tom's voice came through the comm. "They're going to really hate this one." The Velcrin sent their largest squad yet. 15 warriors, fully armed, moving in tight formation. They learned from the previous mistakes. They watched for traps. They moved slowly and carefully. They reached the cargo bay doors. "Now, Tom," Sarah said quietly. Tom triggered the explosive charges. Not large ones, just mining charges meant for breaking rock. But in the enclosed space of the cargo bay access corridor, the effect was devastating. The explosion tore through the Velcrin formation. The ones in front died instantly. The ones behind were thrown backward, their armor cracked and broken. Commander Zekthar's rage filled the communication channel. "Enough. All ships target the human vessel. We will destroy it completely. I will not tolerate this humiliation." "Commander, what about our warriors still aboard?" his tactical officer asked. "They died with honor. Fire all weapons." Sarah saw the weapons powering up on her sensors. This was it. They had bought all the time they could. She opened the ship-wide comm. "All crew brace for impact. It's been an honor serving with you." "Captain, I can buy us more time." Tommy's young voice came through. He was breathing hard, scared but determined. "There's a breach forming in Section 7. If I seal it manually, I can reroute power to the shields. Give us maybe 2 more minutes." "Tommy, Section 7 is venting to space." "You can't. I'm already suited up, Captain." "I can make it." "I have to make it." "Tommy, no." "That's an order." "Sorry, Captain." "Can't hear you." "Comm malfunction." The signal cut out. Sarah pulled up the camera feed for Section 7. She watched as Tommy, wearing an emergency suit, pushed himself through the damaged corridor toward the breach. Atmosphere was venting out, pulling debris and everything else into space. Tommy grabbed onto a support beam and pulled himself forward, hand over hand. He reached the breach. It was larger than expected, maybe 3 meters across. The manual seal controls were on the other side. Tommy would have to cross the breach somehow. Maria was watching the feed too. "Captain, he can't make that jump." "The venting is too strong." Tommy looked at the controls, then at the breach, then at the camera. He knew they were watching. He smiled and gave a thumbs up. Then he wrapped a cable around his waist, tied it to the support beam and jumped. The venting atmosphere caught him and pulled him toward the breach. But the cable held. He swung across the gap, hit the far wall hard and grabbed the control panel. His fingers worked quickly, entering the emergency seal code. Heavy blast doors began to close over the breach. But Tommy was on the wrong side. He tried to jump back, but the cable tangled. He pulled at it frantically as the doors closed. "Tommy, cut the cable and jump!" Sarah screamed into the comm. "Shields are up, Captain," Tommy replied. His voice was calm. "Tell my mom I love her." "Tell her I did good." The blast doors sealed. Tommy Rodriguez was on the other side, in a section open to space, with only minutes of air in his emergency suit and no way to get back. Sarah's screen showed the Velcrin weapons firing. But the shields held, just barely. Tommy had bought them the time they needed. "Captain, detecting a massive power signature," Maria said. "It's not Velcrin. It's human. It's..." The relentless fury dropped out of FTL space exactly where Admiral Webb had planned. The massive dreadnought appeared directly behind the Velcrin formation, weapons already charged and firing solutions locked. "Fire," Webb said simply. The human railguns fired. Solid slugs of metal accelerated to a fraction of light speed. They tore through the first Velcrin cruiser before its shields could even activate. The ship broke apart, atmosphere and debris exploding outward. The second cruiser tried to turn, but it was too slow. Human missiles guided by artificial intelligence warfare systems found every weak point. The cruiser's engines exploded. It went dark and began to drift. Commander Zekthar's command frigate tried to flee. "All ships retreat." "Retreat!" But the relentless fury was faster. Its point defense systems shot down the Velcrin's desperate weapons fire. Its main guns targeted the fleeing frigate with precision that seemed impossible. "Target their engines," Webb ordered. "I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. We're taking prisoners today." The frigate's engines exploded. The ship stopped, dead in space. Sarah watched from the midnight crow as the battle ended in less than 3 minutes. The Velcrin fleet was destroyed or disabled. Human Marines were already launching, coming to secure the area and rescue survivors. "Captain Chen, this is Admiral Webb. Are you and your crew safe?" Sarah looked at the sealed blast doors hiding Tommy's body. 5 crew members are safe, Admiral. 1 crew member gave his life to save us. His name was Tommy Rodriguez. He was 19 years old. There was a long silence. Then Webb's voice came back, harder than steel. "We're sending Marines to you now, Captain. Medical teams are standing by, and Commander Zekthar will answer for what happened here. This I promise you." Admiral Webb stood on the bridge of the Relentless Fury and watched the Velcrin ships burn. Around him, his crew worked with cold efficiency. This was not celebration. This was not glory. This was justice. "Status report," Webb ordered. Lieutenant Commander Yuki looked up from her station. 2 Velcrin cruisers destroyed. 3 destroyers disabled and drifting. Command frigate captured. Estimated Velcrin casualties are 70% of their combat force. Our casualties, 0-0 against 6 enemy ships. The Velcrin had thought they were the superior warriors. They had been wrong. "Sir, the remaining Velcrin destroyer is requesting permission to surrender," the communications officer said. "Tell them to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. If they so much as charge a capacitor, we turn them into dust." "Yes, sir." Webb pulled up the tactical review of the battle. The Relentless Fury had dropped out of FTL in perfect position, thanks to Captain Chen's intelligence data. The first railgun salvo had been fired before the Velcrin even knew what was happening. Each shot had been calculated by the ship's artificial intelligence to hit critical systems. The Velcrin shields, designed to stop energy weapons, had been useless against solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The second wave had been missiles. Not simple rockets, but smart weapons guided by AI that could think, adapt, and choose their own targets. The Velcrin point defense tried to stop them, but human missiles were too fast, too clever. They dodged, they weaved, they found every weakness. The Velcrin had fired back, of course. Heavy plasma cannons that could melt through armor, energy beams that could cut through hulls. But the Relentless Fury's point defense system shot them down, every shot. The AI calculated trajectories in microseconds, targeted incoming fire with precision the Velcrin couldn't match. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. "Sir, Marines report the Midnight Crow is secured. They're evacuating Captain Chen and her crew now." "What about the casualty?" The Marines recovered Tommy Rodriguez's body from the sealed section. "They're bringing him aboard with full honors." Webb nodded slowly. 19 years old, a kid, working on a cargo hauler, probably saving money for college or helping his family. And he had died buying time for his crew, died being a hero. "I want to speak with Commander Zekthar," Webb said. "Directly. Put it on the main screen." The screen flickered and showed the interior of the Velcrin command ship. Commander Zekthar was restrained by human Marines in powered armor. The Velcrin commander was bleeding from several wounds, his armor cracked and broken, but his eyes still showed defiance. "Commander Zekthar," Webb said. His voice was calm, but everyone on the bridge could hear the anger underneath. "I am Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Force. You attacked a civilian cargo vessel. You killed a 19-year-old boy. You violated every law of civilized space combat. Do you understand what you've done?" Zekthar made a sound like grinding rocks. "You are weak. You are merchants. You should have surrendered." Webb stepped closer to the screen. "We are merchants. We are diplomats. We are scientists and explorers. We prefer trade to war. But don't ever mistake that for weakness. You targeted civilians. You killed a kid who was delivering medicine to children. That was your mistake." "One ship," Zekthar said. "You brought 1 ship. We had 6. And we destroyed you in 3 minutes," Webb replied. "We didn't need more ships. We didn't need reinforcements. 1 human warship was enough." "Do you know why?" Zekthar said nothing. "Because we fight smart. We use every advantage. We don't care about honor or glory. We care about winning. We care about protecting our people." Webb's voice grew harder. "And because when you touch one of ours, you don't face 1 ship. You face all of us. Every human in space just heard what you did. Every human fleet is watching right now. You didn't attack one cargo hauler. You attacked humanity, and we take that personally. You cannot make war on the entire Velcrin Dominion for one ship, Zekthar said. Webb smiled. It was not a nice smile. Can't we? You tell me, Commander. Was it worth it? Was attacking that cargo ship worth losing your fleet? Worth becoming a prisoner? Worth what's about to happen next? What do you mean? Webb touched a control. This entire battle was recorded. Every shot. Every moment. I'm broadcasting it now on all Velcrin frequencies. I'm sending it to the Galactic Council. I'm making sure every species in known space sees what happens when humans are attacked. On the screen, Zekthar's expression changed. For the first time, he looked afraid. Your people will see you lose, Webb continued. They'll see 6 Velcrin warships destroyed by one human dreadnought. They'll see that humans have weapons you can't match, technology you don't understand, and a willingness to use it all. But most importantly, they'll see that we don't forgive attacks on civilians. Webb leaned forward. So here's what happens next, Commander. You are going to stand trial. The Galactic Council will judge you for war crimes. Your government will issue a formal apology and pay reparations to Tommy Rodriguez's family, and every Velcrin ship in this sector will leave human space and never come back. The Dominion will agree to whatever we demand. Webb interrupted. Because if they don't, the next time we won't send 1 ship. We'll send 100, and we won't stop at disabling your vessels. We'll show you what human weapons can really do when we're not being merciful. The screen went dark. Webb turned to his crew. Yuki, send the battle data to Earth Fleet Command, the Galactic Council, and broadcast it on all open channels. I want everyone to see this. I want there to be no doubt about what happened here. Yes, sir. Transmitting now. Webb sat back in his command chair. Around him, the bridge was quiet. The crew understood what this meant. Humans had tried to stay out of galactic conflicts. They had focused on trade and diplomacy. They had been peaceful, but peace had limits. And the Velcrin had found those limits. Sir, Captain Chen is aboard. She's requesting permission to speak with you. Send her to my ready room, and have Tommy Rodriguez's body prepared for transport to Earth. Full military honors. Webb left the bridge and walked to his office. A few minutes later, Captain Sarah Chen entered. She looked exhausted, her uniform torn and stained with blood. But she stood straight and saluted. At ease, Captain, Webb said. He gestured to a chair. Sit, you've earned it. Sarah sat. For a moment, she just stared at her hands. Then she looked up at Webb. Thank you for coming, Admiral. We wouldn't have lasted another 5 minutes. You held them off long enough. That took skill and courage. Tommy held them off. He saved us all. Webb nodded. I read the report. He was brave. His family will be told. They'll be honored, and his sacrifice will be remembered. Sarah's eyes were wet, but she didn't cry. What happens now, Admiral? Will there be war? I don't think so, Webb said. The Velcrin understand now. They thought we were weak. They thought they could bully us. But we showed them the truth. We're not warriors by nature, but we can be when we need to be. And we're very, very good at it. He pulled up the broadcast feed on his screen. The battle footage was already spreading across the galaxy. Human news networks were showing it. Alien governments were analyzing it. The Galactic Council was in emergency session. By tomorrow, every species in known space will know, Webb said. Touch human civilians, face human warships. It's a simple message, and I think everyone will understand it. Sarah looked at the screen, watching the Velcrin ships die again and again. Was it worth it? All this destruction for one cargo ship? Webb looked at her seriously. Captain Chen, humanity learned a long time ago that the moment you let an attack go unpunished, you invite more attacks. We respond with overwhelming force not because we're cruel, but because we want this to be the last time anyone makes this mistake. If the Velcrin had succeeded today, tomorrow it would be another ship. Another crew. More deaths. He stood and looked out at the stars. So yes, it was worth it. Because now everyone knows. Humans take care of their own, always. 6 months had passed since the incident. The galaxy had changed in those 6 months in ways both big and small. The Galactic Council had held its emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species watched the battle footage from the Midnight Crow. They saw the Velcrin attack a civilian vessel. They saw the humans respond with overwhelming force. They saw what human military technology could really do. The debate had been fierce. Some species argued that humanity had overreacted. One cargo ship was not worth destroying an entire fleet. But others, The smaller species who had suffered under Velcrin aggression saw it differently. They saw a species willing to protect its own. They saw strength used in defense, not conquest. In the end, the Council ruled in humanity's favor. The Velcrin had violated the most basic rules of civilized space. Civilian vessels were off limits. Always. The Velcrin Dominion was ordered to pay reparations, issue formal apologies, and withdraw from the disputed sectors. Commander Zekthar was found guilty of war crimes. He was sentenced to life imprisonment on a neutral council world. His final words at the trial were recorded and spread across Velcrin space. I underestimated them. Do not make my mistake. The Velcrin military changed its doctrine. New orders went out to every ship. Human vessels were to be avoided at all costs. Priority in shipping lanes. No confrontations. No provocations. The humans had proven they would respond to threats with extreme force, and the Velcrin wanted no part of that. Other species noticed. The Xelians, who had lost colonies to Velcrin aggression, approached human diplomats. They wanted to discuss mutual defense treaties. The Thraxians, a peaceful trading species, requested human escorts for their cargo ships through dangerous space. Even the Krill Collective, which had never been friendly to humanity, became noticeably more polite in diplomatic channels. The message had been received across the galaxy. Humans were not to be trifled with, but the biggest changes were happening in human space itself. Earth Fleet Command received funding for 10 new dreadnoughts. Civilian cargo ships were equipped with better defensive systems. New protocols were established for distress calls. And every human ship, military or civilian, carried the same message in its computer core. No one gets left behind. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her new ship. It was larger than the Midnight Crow, with better engines and newer systems. But more importantly, it had a name that meant something: the Tommy's Light. She looked out at the stars and thought about the young man who had saved her crew. Tommy Rodriguez had been just a kid, working his first real job in space. He should have had decades ahead of him. Instead, he had given his life buying time for others to live. His family had been given the reparations money from the Velcrin. They had also been given Tommy's posthumous medal, the highest honor Earth could bestow for civilian bravery. At the ceremony, his mother had held the medal and cried. But she had also smiled. He was always like that, she had said. Always thinking about others first. Always doing the right thing, even when it was hard. I'm proud of him. Sarah had promised Tommy's mother that she would make sure his death meant something, that she would make sure it was remembered, and she had kept that promise. Every human ship now carried Tommy's story in their databases. Every new crew member learned about the 19-year-old who had sealed a breach with his own life. Every captain was reminded of what it meant to protect your crew. Captain, we're receiving an escort signal, her new communications officer said. It's the EDFN Vigilant. They're asking if we need an escort through this sector. Sarah smiled. Tell them we appreciate it, but we're good. This sector is clear now. It was true. The shipping lane, which had been dangerous 6 months ago, was now safe. The Velcrin were gone. The pirates who used to operate here had disappeared. Everyone had gotten the message, but human patrol ships still checked the lanes regularly. Just in case, just to make sure. Sarah's long-range sensors showed a Velcrin cargo ship approaching from the opposite direction. She watched as it immediately changed course, giving the Tommy's Light a wide berth. It then signaled for priority passage, offering to wait until the human ship had passed. Sir, the Velcrin ship is asking if we need the lane, her helmsman said with surprise. Tell them we can share. We're not here to bully anyone. We're just here to do our job. The Velcrin ship acknowledged and carefully maintained its distance as the two vessels passed each other. Sarah could imagine the Velcrin captain watching nervously, making sure not to do anything that could be seen as aggressive. She didn't enjoy that fear. She wasn't cruel, but she understood why it existed. Fear kept people safe. The fear of human retaliation meant no one would attack human civilians again. And that was what mattered. Captain, incoming message from Admiral Webb, her communications officer said. Sarah opened the channel. Admiral, good to hear from you. Webb's face appeared on her screen. He looked tired but pleased. Captain Chen, how's the new ship? She's good, sir. Handles well. The crew is solid. We're making our delivery runs on schedule. Glad to hear it. I wanted to let you know that the last of the Velcrin forces left the sector this morning. The Council confirmed it. This entire region is now clear. That's good news, Admiral. It is. And it's thanks to you and your crew. You held them off long enough for us to respond. You showed the galaxy that humans don't surrender easily. Sarah thought about Tom, Maria, and the others who had fought beside her. We did what we had to do, sir. Nothing more. Maybe, but it mattered. The whole galaxy saw what happened. They saw civilians fight back. They saw the military respond. They saw what happens when someone goes after our people. Webb paused. How are you holding up, Captain? Sarah looked at the stars. Some days are harder than others. I think about Tommy a lot. Wonder if I could have done something different. Saved him somehow. He made his choice, Webb said gently. He was a hero. Don't dishonor his sacrifice by thinking it was in vain. I know. His mother said the same thing. She's right. Tommy Rodriguez saved 5 people that day. He also saved countless others who will never be attacked because of what happened. That's a legacy to be proud of. After the call ended, Sarah sat in her captain's chair and thought about the future. 6 months ago, she had been a simple cargo hauler trying to live a quiet life. Now she commanded a ship that every alien in the sector recognized. She was a symbol whether she wanted to be or not. But maybe that was okay. Maybe being a symbol meant something. It meant that somewhere out there, another cargo hauler crew was safer because of what happened. Another 19-year-old kid would make it home to their family. Captain, we're approaching the colony, her helmsman reported. Medical supplies ready for transfer. Good. Let's deliver them and get back to work. The Tommy's light entered orbit around the colony world. Down below in a hospital, children waited for medicine. Doctors waited for equipment. People waited for help, and help had arrived. Because humans took care of their own. Because humans kept their promises. Because one young man had given his life to buy time, and humanity had made sure that sacrifice mattered. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Human ships flew in peace now, respected and unmolested. But every alien who saw a human vessel knew the truth. They knew about the Midnight Crow. They knew about Tommy Rodriguez. They knew about the relentless fury. They knew that humans were traders and diplomats, scientists and explorers, peaceful by nature, kind by choice. But they also knew that humans had limits. And crossing those limits came with a price measured in destroyed fleets and shattered military doctrines. A price measured in fear and respect. The Velkrin had targeted a lone human ship. They had thought it would be easy. They had thought wrong, and now the whole galaxy knew better. Sarah looked at the nameplate on her command console. Tommy's Light, a small ship with a big name. A ship that carried more than cargo. It carried a message. It carried a promise. It carried the memory of a hero. Take us to the landing site, Sarah ordered. We have medicine to deliver. The ship moved gracefully through the atmosphere, carrying hope and help to those who needed it. Just like the Midnight Crow had tried to do 6 months ago. Just like human ships would continue to do for years to come, because that was what humans did. They helped. They cared. They protected, and heaven help anyone who tried to stop them. The night sky above the lunar observatory was darker and more beautiful than anything on Earth. Dr. Alan West liked that about his job. No light pollution, no clouds, just the pure view of countless stars. Tonight, though, something was different. Alan leaned closer to his monitor, rubbing his tired eyes. For 6 hours straight, he had been studying the same signal. It wasn't like the normal patterns from stars or the background noise of the universe. This was structured. This had meaning. You're still here? Lisa Gordon walked into the lab with 2 cups of coffee. It's past midnight, Earth time. Alan accepted the coffee with a grateful nod. Look at this pattern. It repeats, but with variations that can't be natural. Lisa set her cup down and moved closer to the screen. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her eyes narrowed as she studied the wavelength patterns. As the observatory's communications specialist, she had seen all kinds of space noise. This was something new. Where is it coming from? She asked. Andromeda Galaxy. About 2.5 million light-years away. Lisa whistled softly. So whatever sent this did it when our ancestors were still figuring out stone tools. And it just reached us now. Alan pointed to a specific pattern on the screen. See these sequences? They're mathematical. Prime numbers first, then what looks like geometric formulas. No natural phenomenon creates patterns like that. The realization hung in the air between them. After decades of searching the skies, Humanity had finally received a clear sign. They were not alone. "We need to tell someone," Lisa said. Alan nodded, but hesitated before reaching for the communication link. This moment would change everything. Once humanity knew for certain that intelligent life existed elsewhere, there would be no going back. "Send it to my station," Lisa said. "I can run it through our translation algorithms." For the next 3 days, Alan and Lisa barely left the lab. They took turns sleeping on the small cot in the break room. The signal continued arriving, growing, more complex with each passing hour. By the 4th day, Lisa made a breakthrough. "It's not just math," she said, excitement making her voice shake. "There's more. Look at these sequences when I map them to visual patterns." The screen filled with strange symbols that gradually arranged themselves into recognizable forms. Circles, lines, and what looked like a map of star systems. "Is that our solar system?" Alan asked, pointing to a familiar arrangement. "I think so, and look," Lisa pointed to a blinking dot at the edge of the map. "Something is coming from here." Alan felt a chill run down his spine. "We need to alert Earth defense." Within 24 hours, their quiet lab became the center of a global storm. Military officials, scientists, and government representatives crowded the small lunar base. Their discovery was too important to trust to communication channels that might be intercepted. Lieutenant Chris Bailey of the North American Space Defense Force arrived with the 3rd transport shuttle. He was young but had serious eyes that had seen action during the resource wars on Mars. "Dr. West," he said, shaking Alan's hand firmly. "I'm here to discuss the outer system anomalies." "What anomalies?" Alan asked. "We've been focused on the signal." Chris glanced around and lowered his voice. "We've detected objects moving at the edge of our solar system, near Pluto's orbit. They're small, but they're not following natural orbits. They change direction." Lisa joined them, carrying data tablets. "You think they're connected to our signal?" "Too much of a coincidence otherwise," Chris said. "The timing matches exactly when you first detected the transmission." That night, after most of the officials had returned to their temporary quarters, Alan, Lisa, and Chris gathered in the main lab. The room was quieter now, but the tension remained. "The signal has changed again," Lisa said, showing them the latest data. "It's becoming more complex but also clearer. I think they're teaching us their language." "Why?" Chris asked, his military training making him suspicious. "Why reach out now? Maybe they detected our deep space transmissions," Alan suggested. "We've been sending signals into space for over 200 years. Or maybe they've been watching us all along," Chris said, "waiting until we reached a certain point." Lisa worked through the night, feeding the new patterns into the translation system. By morning, she had deciphered part of the message. "It's a test," she announced to the room full of bleary-eyed officials. "They're challenging us to prove we're ready for contact." "Ready in what way?" asked the representative from the United Nations. "Technologically? Morally?" Lisa shrugged. "The message isn't that specific yet, but there's a time element here. These patterns suggest we have less than 5 years before something happens." The debate that followed was heated. Some wanted to respond immediately, showing Earth's best face. Others advised caution, even silence. What if this was a trap? What if the message was meant to trigger a response that would reveal Earth's location and capabilities to a hostile force? While the politicians argued, Alan returned to his telescope. The stars looked the same as they always had, but now he saw them differently. Each point of light might be home to watching eyes, to civilizations waiting to see what humanity would do next. Chris joined him at the window. "I've been reassigned," he said quietly. "They're sending me to Pluto base to investigate those objects up close." "Be careful out there," Alan said. "You too. I think we're all stepping into unknown territory now." Chris hesitated. "Whatever we decide to say back to them, it needs to be right. We might only get one chance." As dawn broke over the lunar surface, Alan watched the Earth rise, a blue marble hanging in the blackness. Somewhere down there, people were waking up to a world that was about to change forever. Most didn't know it yet, but soon everyone would be asking the same questions. Who were these beings sending signals across the stars? What did they want from humanity? And the most important question of all, when Earth finally answered, what should they say? Lisa touched his shoulder. I found something else in the signal, something hidden beneath the main message. What is it? Alan asked. It's hard to be sure, but it looks like a warning. Whatever they're preparing us for, it's coming sooner than we think. As if to confirm her words, all the computers in the lab suddenly lit up with new data. The signal had intensified. They were no longer just being observed. They were being called. 6 months had passed since the discovery of the signal. Winter snow covered the mountains surrounding the secret facility in Colorado, where the newly formed Stellar Response Initiative now operated. Inside, the central meeting room hummed with tension as Commander Samantha Reeves called the team to order. Let's review what we know, she said, her voice steady despite the lack of sleep evident in the dark circles under her eyes. At 45, Samantha had already led 3 successful Mars missions. Now she faced a challenge far beyond anything in human experience. Alan West and Lisa Gordon sat side by side at the conference table. Their work had become inseparable in recent months, as had their lives. Next to them sat Paul Wright, a diplomat known for resolving the African water conflicts 5 years earlier. His calm demeanor balanced the nervous energy of Maria Diaz, the team's xenobiologist who fidgeted with her tablet stylus. At the far end, Jack Simmons, military strategist and former Navy SEAL, watched everyone with calculating eyes. The signal now appears in 7 different formats, Lisa explained, projecting the data onto the wall screen. We've decoded about 60% of it. The mathematical and navigational information was just the beginning. Alan took over. We believe they're telling us about themselves, their biology, their history. They're giving us a chance to understand them before any physical contact happens. If it happens, Jack interrupted. This could still be some kind of trick. Give us knowledge, make us lower our guard. Paul shook his head. That's human thinking. We can't project our own historical patterns of conquest onto beings that evolved in entirely different conditions. Human thinking is all we have, Jack shot back. Samantha raised her hand to stop the familiar argument. Maria, what's the status on the biological data? Maria Diaz stood and replaced Lisa's projection with her own. This is fascinating. The signal contains what appears to be genetic information, but not based on DNA as we know it. More importantly, there are patterns that match extinction events in Earth's fossil record. A silence fell over the room. Are you saying they caused those extinctions? Jack asked, leaning forward. Not necessarily, Maria replied, but they knew about them, in detail, which means they've been watching Earth for millions of years. Alan felt Lisa's hand find his under the table. The idea was both thrilling and unsettling. Humanity had never been alone, even in its earliest days. What about the objects near Pluto? Samantha asked. A new voice answered from the doorway. They've moved. Everyone turned to see Chris Bailey, his face gaunt from his long journey back from the outer solar system. He'd lost weight, and something in his eyes had changed. Lieutenant Bailey. Samantha stood. We weren't expecting you for another week. I came as soon as I could after... Chris paused, struggling for words. After the contact. The room erupted in questions until Samantha called for order. Chris took a seat and explained what had happened near Neptune. His patrol ship had detected one of the objects changing course to intercept him. Against protocol, he had decided to approach it. It was small, maybe 30 feet across, smooth with no visible openings or engines. When I got within half a mile, all my systems went dead. Chris's voice was flat, as if he was reading from a report rather than describing his own experience. Then something connected with me, not physically. It was like a download directly into my brain. What did you see? Maria asked softly. A war, Chris answered. Not like our wars. This was across entire star systems, something destroying world after world, and the beings sending the signal, they were fighting it, containing it. Did you see what they look like? Lisa asked. Chris shook his head. Not clearly, but they're old, Their civilization exists across multiple galaxies. They've been fighting this darkness for longer than our species has existed. Jack stood up abruptly. This changes everything. If there's a galactic conflict, we need to accelerate our defense preparations, or our diplomatic approach, Paul countered. If they're fighting something worse, we want to be on the right side. The debate continued for hours, with each expert arguing from their perspective. Maria analyzed the biological implications, suggesting the aliens might be concerned about compatibility between species. Paul drafted potential diplomatic responses focused on peaceful cooperation. Jack pushed for military readiness, arguing that Earth needed to project strength. Through it all, Alan and Lisa worked on refining their understanding of the signal itself, certain that the full message held the key to humanity's best response. As evening approached, Samantha called for their final recommendations. "We need more time," Maria said. "We need more defenses," Jack insisted. "We need to show them who we truly are," Paul suggested. Samantha nodded at each, then turned to Alan and Lisa. "And you two? What do the stars tell us to do?" Lisa looked at Alan, who nodded slightly before she spoke. "The signal isn't just information. It's an invitation to join something larger, but it's also a test to see if we're ready." She paused. "We think Earth should respond simply but honestly. Tell them we understand the message, and we're preparing ourselves for whatever comes next." "In other words," Alan added, "we should tell them we're ready. Are you?" A thoughtful silence followed. Simple but powerful, Paul nodded his approval. "And ambiguous enough to keep our true capabilities unclear," Jack admitted. "Is that our consensus?" Samantha asked, looking around the table. One by one, they nodded. "Then that's our recommendation to the United Nations. Along with this message, we'll send a data package showing our scientific achievements, cultural highlights, and proposed protocols for peaceful interaction." As the meeting ended, unusual reports began coming in from research stations across the solar system. Equipment failures on Mars' base, strange energy readings on Saturn's moons, and most disturbing, multiple people reporting identical dreams of stars going dark. Alan found Chris alone in the observation dome later that night, staring at the sky. "There's something else you saw, isn't there?" Alan asked. "Something you didn't tell the others." Chris didn't look away from the stars. "They're not just coming to meet us, Dr. West. They're coming because they need us. Humanity has something they've been looking for. What could we possibly have that beings that advanced would need? I don't know exactly. But in the vision, Earth was special, different from the other worlds." Chris finally turned to face Alan. "And whatever is hunting them across the stars, it's already here." 1 year had passed since the alien signal was first detected. The dry air of the Atacama Desert shimmered with heat as the final preparations were made at Earth's most powerful transmission array. The facility stretched across 5 square miles of Chilean desert. Thousands of dishes pointed at the sky like giant metal flowers seeking the sun. Alan West stood beside Lisa Gordon on the observation platform. Below them, technicians scurried between control stations. This was the day humanity would officially answer the stars. "Are you nervous?" and Lisa asked, her hand finding his. "Terrified," Alan admitted with a small smile, "but also more alive than I've ever felt." In the year since their discovery, their relationship had deepened alongside their work. The intense pressure had pushed them together rather than apart. Now they wore matching silver bands on their fingers, a commitment made 3 months earlier during a rare break from their duties. Commander Samantha Reeves joined them on the platform, her uniform crisp despite the heat. "The United Nations Security Council has given final approval. We transmit in 30 minutes. Any word from the deep space monitoring stations?" Alan asked. Samantha's expression darkened. "That's part of why I came to find you. We've lost contact with 3 stations in the past 6 hours. Europa Base, Titan Research Station, and the Kuiper Belt Outpost." Lisa's grip on Alan's hand tightened. "All at once?" "No. One after another. Like something moving inward through the solar system. The implications hung in the air between them. Whatever was happening, It was deliberate and coordinated. "Should we delay the transmission?" Alan asked. Samantha shook her head firmly. "The opposite. The Defense Council believes we need to establish communication before whatever is out there reaches Earth. We're accelerating the timetable. We transmit in 10 minutes. As Samantha left to oversee final preparations, Paul Wright approached with a tablet in hand. The diplomat looked tired but satisfied. "The final message package is ready for your review," he said, handing the tablet to Lisa. She scrolled through the contents quickly. The work of hundreds of experts had been distilled into a carefully crafted response. Scientific data, cultural samples, and diplomatic protocols all built around the simple core message they had agreed on. "We're ready, are you?" "It looks perfect," Lisa said, passing the tablet to Alan. Paul nodded. Jack wanted more military achievements included, but the council overruled him. They felt it best to emphasize peaceful intentions. "Where is Jack now?" Alan asked. "Overseeing the activation of the orbital defense grid, just in case." The defense grid had been a controversial project, accelerated dramatically after the alien signal was detected. A network of satellites armed with experimental energy weapons now encircled the planet, a shield against unknown threats from the stars. A technician approached and informed them it was time to move to the control center. The final countdown was beginning. The transmission control room was crowded with officials from around the world. Maria Diaz stood next to a bank of monitors displaying biological data. Jack Simmons had arrived, standing stiffly in his military uniform at the back of the room. Paul moved to join a cluster of diplomats near the main console. Commander Reeves took position at the central platform and called for attention. Today marks humanity's first intentional response to confirmed intelligent life beyond our world. Whatever happens next, history will remember this moment. Are there any final concerns before we proceed? No one spoke. The decision had been debated exhaustively for months. It was time. "Begin the transmission," Samantha ordered. A technician pressed the activation sequence. Outside, the massive array of dishes adjusted their positions in perfect unison, all focusing on a single point in the Andromeda galaxy. The most powerful directed signal ever created by human technology surged outward at the speed of light, carrying humanity's message across the void. "Transmission successful," the lead technician announced. A brief cheer went up from the assembled group. "Now we wait," Lisa whispered to Alan, but they didn't have to wait long. Exactly 7 minutes after the transmission ended, every screen in the control room went dark. Then they all lit up simultaneously, displaying the same image. A star map unlike any they had seen before, with Earth clearly marked at the center. "Is that a response?" someone asked in the stunned silence. "Impossible," Alan said. "Even at light speed, our message would take years to reach Andromeda." "It's not coming from Andromeda," the communications officer reported, voice shaking. "This signal is originating from Neptune's orbit." Jack Simmons immediately went to a military communication terminal. "Defense grid to full alert. All space forces prepare for..." He was cut off as the facility's power system suddenly failed. Emergency lights came on, casting the room in an eerie red glow. "Something's approaching Earth," the radar technician called out. "Multiple objects moving faster than anything in our database." Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, they could see the dish array outside moving again, but not under human control. Each massive antenna turned to a different point in the sky, as if searching for something. "Get the backup generators online," Samantha ordered. "Restore communications with orbital defense." Before anyone could respond, a blinding light flooded the room. When it faded, a figure stood in the center of the control room. Not solid, but a three-dimensional projection that shifted and flowed like water catching light. Every person froze, in place. The being, if it could be called that, resembled nothing from Earth. It had a form that seemed to change as you looked at it, impossible angles and shapes merging and separating. Then it spoke, not in sound, but directly into their minds. "We received your message long ago. We have been waiting for you to be ready." Maria Diaz stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "Ready for what?" "To join the fight," the being responded. The silence is coming. It has already taken 3 of your outposts. Your weapons cannot stop it. Jack moved protectively toward Samantha. What is the silence? The end of all thought. The enemy of consciousness itself. It has destroyed 1,000 civilizations before yours. Alan found his voice at last. And you need our help? What can we possibly do against something that threatens advanced civilizations? The projection shifted, forming what looked like a double helix but with impossible additional dimensions. Your species evolved differently. Your minds work in ways ours cannot. You see patterns we miss. You imagine solutions we would never consider. Lisa stepped forward to stand beside Alan. You've been watching us for a long time. Since your first ancestors looked up at the stars and wondered what they were, the being confirmed. We have guided your evolution from afar, subtly encouraging the traits that would make you valuable allies. Before anyone could respond to this revelation, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Multiple unidentified objects entering Earth's atmosphere. A technician called out, reading from a portable device. The projection flickered. They have followed us here sooner than expected. Your defense grid will fall within hours. What do we do? Samantha asked, taking command despite her shock. Choose, the being said simply. Fight alongside us against the silence or face it alone. We cannot force your decision. That is why we asked. Are you ready? As the projection faded, the power returned to the facility. Outside, the sky had turned strange colors as objects too fast to track streaked across it. Humanity had sent its message to the stars. Now the stars had answered, and they demanded a choice. 2 years had passed since the alien being appeared in the control room in Chile. The world had changed in ways no one could have imagined before first contact. Alan West stood at the window of his office at the new Unified Earth Command headquarters. The sprawling complex had been built in record time on neutral territory in New Zealand. Outside, the green hills rolled toward the ocean under a clear blue sky that seemed too peaceful for the reality they now lived in. The European delegation has arrived, Lisa said as she entered the room. Her hair was shorter now, more practical for their busy lives. A small scar ran along her right cheek, a souvenir from an evacuation during the Sydney incident 6 months earlier. Alan turned from the window and smiled at his wife. Their marriage had weathered the global chaos better than many. Perhaps because they had been at the center of it from the beginning, they had adjusted faster than most. How are the new communication systems performing? He asked. Lisa's face brightened with professional pride. Better than expected. The principles we learned from the Guardian messages have revolutionized our technology. Quantum entanglement communication is now stable across the entire solar system. Distance doesn't matter anymore. Their work together had led to breakthroughs that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. Necessity and alien knowledge had accelerated human progress at an astonishing rate. The door opened again, and Commander Samantha Reeves entered. Now General Reeves, she carried the weight of her new responsibility in the slight stoop of her shoulders, though her eyes remained as sharp and determined as ever. The Security Council meeting starts in 10 minutes, she said. We have representatives from every nation and colony. Even Mars Base managed to send someone despite the recent attacks. The 3 of them walked together through corridors filled with people from around the world. Military personnel in various uniforms mixed with scientists, diplomats, and civilian specialists. 2 years ago, such global cooperation would have seemed impossible. Now it was necessary for survival. The main conference room could hold 500 people. Today, it was full to capacity. Paul Wright waved to them from the diplomatic section. His skills had been crucial in forming the new unified Earth government, not a true world government, but a coalition unlike anything that had existed before. Jack, Simmons nodded curtly from his position with the military leaders. As head of Earth's defense forces, he had been proven right about the need for preparation, though even his most pessimistic predictions had underestimated the threat they now faced. Maria Diaz joined them as they took their seats at the front. I have news from the biological research team, she whispered. We've made progress understanding the Guardian physiology. It's unlike anything we imagined. Before she could elaborate, the meeting was called to order. The chairperson, a formerly obscure Norwegian diplomat who had shown remarkable leadership skills during the crisis, stood to address the assembly. 2 years ago, humanity received an invitation and a warning, she began. We chose to stand with the Guardians against the threat known as the Silence. Today we review our progress and our losses. Screens around the room displayed statistics and images. 3 deep space stations destroyed. 2 attacks on Mars colonies repelled, but with heavy casualties. Mysterious electrical failures affecting major cities on Earth. But also, new technologies, new understanding of the universe, and new unity among humans. Jack Simmons presented the military situation. The orbital defense grid has been upgraded with Guardian technology. It has successfully intercepted 3 approach attempts by Silence entities in the past month. Our deep space monitors show increased activity near Saturn, suggesting another push may be coming. Paul Wright reported on diplomatic efforts. Communication with the Guardian network continues to improve. We now have regular exchanges with 17 different species in their alliance. Many were skeptical about including such a young civilization as ours, but our recent contributions have begun to change minds. Maria presented findings on the nature of their enemy. The Silence is not a traditional life form as we understand it. Our best theory is that it exists as a pattern that spreads through information systems, including biological ones. It doesn't just kill, it erases. Civilizations that fall to it are not just destroyed, they are forgotten, their achievements and knowledge absorbed and lost. Throughout the presentations, Alan watched the assembly. Fear was visible on many faces, but also determination. Humanity had been forced to grow up quickly, to see beyond national rivalries and cultural differences. In the face of extinction, people had found common ground. When the formal presentations ended, Samantha took the podium. Now for the most important update. 2 weeks ago, we received a transmission from the Europa exploration team. A murmur ran through the crowd. The mission to Jupiter's moon had been launched after unusual energy readings were detected beneath its icy surface. With communications disrupted by Silence attacks, no one had heard from the team in months. Many had assumed them lost. Lieutenant Chris Bailey and Dr. Maria Diaz's research partner have made a discovery that may change everything. The main screen, activated, showing Chris Bailey's face. He looked older, his expression intense as he transmitted from deep space. What we found isn't a Guardian outpost, he reported, his voice occasionally breaking up despite the new communication system. It's much older. Some kind of monitoring station that's been here for millions of years. It activated when Earth sent its response message 2 years ago. The camera panned to show a vast chamber carved from Europa's ice and rock. Strange architecture curved in ways that hurt the eyes to follow. At the center stood a pulsing crystal-like structure that emitted soft blue light. The station contains a star map, Chris continued. It shows hundreds of civilizations across our galaxy, those that have risen and fallen over millions of years. He gestured, and the camera zoomed in on part of the map. Earth was clearly marked, with words in an alien script next to it. Our linguists have translated this as emerging potential ally, Chris said. We think this station is part of a network that has been evaluating developing species for eons, looking for particular traits. What traits? Someone called from the audience. Chris's face returned to the screen. Creativity, adaptability, and something the Guardians call productive unpredictability. Apparently humans excel at thinking in ways the older species cannot. Maria Diaz stood. Is the station still operational? Can it help us? More than operational, Chris replied, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. It's beginning a sequence we don't fully understand yet. Not a weapon, but some kind of revelation. Whatever the Guardians have been preparing humanity for, this is the next step. As Chris spoke, the lights in the conference room dimmed momentarily. Around the world, similar power fluctuations were reported. Something was happening on a global scale. We need more time to understand what... Chris's transmission cut off suddenly. The screen went dark for several seconds, then returned with a simple message in plain text. The test continues. The choice approaches. The observation deck of the United Nations headquarters in New York was filled to capacity. World leaders, scientists, and military commanders stood shoulder to shoulder, all eyes fixed on the sky. Outside, millions of people filled the streets, staring upward with the same mixture of fear and wonder. Alan West and Lisa Gordon stood near the front, their hands clasped tightly together. 5 years had passed since they first detected the signal from Andromeda. 3 years since humanity chose to stand with the Guardians against the silence. Now the moment of truth had arrived. "It's starting," Lisa whispered, as the first glimmers appeared in the daytime sky. Across the solar system, the monitoring stations on Europa, Mars, and a dozen other outposts had activated simultaneously 24 hours earlier. From each one rose what scientists were calling quantum nodes, devices that defied conventional physics, seemingly made of living mineral. As they rose into space, they began connecting with Earth's communication networks. General Samantha Reeves approached, her uniform decorated with the insignia of the combined Earth Defense Force. "All systems are ready. The planetary shield is at full capacity." "Will it be enough?" Alan asked quietly. Samantha's expression was grim but determined. "Against the silence? No. But it might buy us time for the Guardians' plan to work." On a nearby screen, they could see the feed from Chris Bailey's team on Europa. The ancient monitoring station beneath the ice had transformed, opening chambers that had been sealed for millions of years. Similar reports came from Mars and Venus, where other alien structures had been discovered. "They were everywhere, watching us all along," Paul Wright said as he joined them. The diplomat looked exhausted but carried himself with newfound confidence. In recent months, he had become humanity's chief representative to the Guardian Coalition. "Not watching," Lisa corrected. "Waiting. Testing us to see what we'd do when faced with extinction." The screen suddenly flickered. Every communication device on Earth, from the most sophisticated military equipment to civilian phones, displayed the same message. A countdown. 9. 8. "Here they come," Jack Simmons said from his position at the defense console. "Multiple objects entering the solar system. Larger than anything we've encountered before. 7, 6, 5. Maria Diaz rushed into the observation deck clutching a tablet. "The biological analysis is complete. We understand now. The silence isn't trying to destroy consciousness, it's trying to harvest it. It feeds on the collective knowledge and experience of entire civilizations." 3, 2, "And the Guardians?" Alan asked quickly. "What do they want from us?" Maria's eyes were wide with the implications of her discovery. "They don't want anything from us, they want to give us something, a choice." The sky above Earth seemed to fold in on itself. There was no other way to describe it. Space itself rippled like disturbed water, and through that disturbance came ships, hundreds of them, each unique in design, as if built by different species with different concepts of engineering. At the same moment, dark shapes appeared at the edge of the solar system, formless, absorbing all light, moving with terrible purpose toward Earth. The silence had arrived in force. The quantum nodes positioned throughout the solar system pulsed with energy. Every screen on Earth showed the same image, a being of light that seemed to be composed of multiple forms overlapping. People of Earth, the being spoke in every language simultaneously. "We are the Guardian Coalition. For millions of years, we have fought to preserve conscious life against the silence. Now you must make your final choice." The image shifted to show a map of the galaxy with thousands of points of light, each representing a civilization that had joined the coalition. "You asked if we were ready. Now we ask you the same question. The silence cannot be defeated through force alone. It can only be transformed through understanding, through connection between different forms of consciousness." The dark shapes drew closer, passing Neptune's orbit. Earth's defense grid activated, firing beams of energy that seemed insignificant against the vastness of the threat. "What are they asking us to do?" someone whispered. Maria understood first. "The quantum nodes. They're not weapons, they're connectors. They want us to join our consciousness with theirs, to become part of a unified network of minds. We'd lose our independence, Jack argued. No, Lisa said, studying the data streams flowing across her tablet. We'd maintain our uniqueness. That's what they need from us, our human perspective, our different way of seeing problems. The Guardian message continued. The choice must be freely made. Each civilization brings new insights, new patterns of thought. Humanity's greatest strength is your creativity in crisis, your ability to find hope in darkness. Alan looked at the faces around him. People who had been strangers 5 years ago, now united in purpose. This is what they've been preparing us for. Not to fight for them, but to think with them. Outside, the silence entities began to engage with Earth's defenses. The planetary shield buckled under assaults that seemed to warp reality itself. A historic moment. Representatives from every nation gathered in the United Nations General Assembly chamber. The question before them was simple but profound. Would humanity join its consciousness with the Guardian network while maintaining its unique identity, or face the silence alone? The debate was brief. The vote unanimous. Alan and Lisa stood side by side at the main communication array as Earth prepared its response. Chris Bailey's voice came through from Europa. The connection points are ready. The Guardian network is standing by. Samantha gave the final authorization. Send the message. Through the new quantum communication system that Lisa and Alan had helped develop, humanity's response traveled instantly across the stars. We're ready. Are you? The effect was immediate. The quantum nodes throughout the solar system pulsed with brilliant light. Every human felt a moment of expansion, as if their mind had suddenly grown larger, connecting to something vast, yet welcoming. Knowledge flowed into human consciousness, not overwhelming, but integrating. Millions of years of experiences from hundreds of civilizations became accessible, a library of memories and insights that no single species could have accumulated alone. And humanity gave something in return. Human creativity, adaptability, and hope spread through the Guardian network, bringing new perspectives to ancient minds. In orbit, the silence entities faltered as they encountered not isolated minds to consume, but a connected consciousness that included humanity's unique patterns. For the first time in eons, the silence retreated. As dawn broke over New York, the first Guardian vessels appeared visibly in Earth's orbit, no longer hiding their presence. Their designs incorporated elements from thousands of allied civilizations, including, Alan noticed with wonder, hints of ancient human symbols and patterns. They've been learning from us all along, Lisa said softly. Just as we've been learning from them. And now? Alan asked. On the horizon, the sun rose on humanity's first day as citizens not just of Earth, but of a galactic community they were only beginning to understand.